So yeah, tonight we've got a very special edition of Social Distancing Live. I spoke to Penny Lyons a couple of weeks ago now, and we recorded this interview, which Gavin has very kindly edited for us. And it features some fantastic music, some interesting stories as well. And I'd like to introduce you to Penny from Out of the Ashes. You might remember she was on the Good Friday programme. She shared a song there and a quick little snippet and a quick little interview. But part of the reason for this programme is to encourage, to inspire and to share music by other independent Christian artists out there as well. It's not all about me. It's not about me at all, in fact. So here is the interview with Out of the Ashes and Penny. Hope you enjoy it. I'll be on the comment section with Anna, so please say hello. Please say where you're watching from as well, and any questions as well, just chuck them in as well. So this is the interview I did with Penny from Out of the Ashes. Hope you enjoy. I'll see you on the other side. Hello, Penny. How are you doing?
We're doing really well. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm very good indeed, very good indeed. It's great to have you on Social Distancing Live. Thank you so much for coming on. So how is lockdown going for you? What are things like there in Gloucestershire?
Well, things like in Gloucester, of course, we've had the amazing weather, which has been a real joy. We are blessed. We have a garden. We have birds singing. The rest of the natural world is actually continuing without our help and is thoroughly enjoying the break, I suspect. We can see across to the River Severn from where we are up on Minchinhampton Common, and we're getting beautiful clear days. And although I think there's some cold weather to come, I have a funny feeling. So lots of gardening, lots of preparing our house for the retreats when social distancing lifts again and we're actually able to hold retreats here. So yeah, and some music getting written and stuff.
So you, just for context for our viewers, you have a retreat house that you're developing at the moment.
Yeah, well, we used to live just north of Painswick in Gloucestershire, and we could never understand why God had given us this ridiculously big house. And first of all, we put a recording studio in because that was something that was of our interest. And then other people started using the recording studio. And then a friend who had been in the music industry, and I said, what's she going to do now when he folded his company? And he said, well, I think we want to run retreats. We've got to find somewhere to run retreats. Now, as it was, we had been going round to a lot of tiny churches, some quite big churches, but some tiny, exhausted churches. And we realised that there were a lot of very tired people, spiritually tired people, trying to run churches. We met a vicar once for lunch who wanted to book us for his church, but he wanted to meet us away from his parish. He spent most of the meal in tears because he was just broken, felt no support. He felt that he had to support his community. And I think sometimes we forget how much stress and how much weight our church leaders carry. They so need our prayer. So that inspired us to want to start running retreats here. And in fact, it's become more than church leaders. It's become anybody that just feels they need to be reinvigorated, re-inspired, and just rest. God wants us to rest in his arms, and we can do that here. So.
And it's a beautiful part of the world, absolutely gorgeous part of the world.
Yeah.
So we're going to listen to the first song you've selected for us tonight, and it's called Get Out the Boat. Can you explain the story behind the song? And also it's got an amazing video too, isn't it?
It's got quite a fun video, which we're delighted to say won an award, which was, I think, probably the peak of our career is, But Get Out the Boat was inspired by Peter and meeting Jesus. Jesus walks across the water to them. And at first they think it's a ghost. And then Jesus says, it's okay, it's me. And at that point, Peter is so excited to see him. I love Peter. He's so, what's the word? He just gets so excited and he just goes in, all guns blazing, and then realizes that maybe he's bitten off more than he could chew. And of course Jesus says, go on, come to me, walk on the water. And as long as Peter focused on Jesus, he was able to stay on the water. But then he suddenly went, whoa, what am I doing? And he started to sink. And the thing is that it might not be physically walking on water. We have that lovely phrase that when somebody is amazing, it's like, oh, yeah, he could walk on water, which perhaps is almost slightly blasphemous. But the gist is that when the Holy Spirit is covering us, when we're doing what God has asked us, we can do anything. And what an empowering place to be. And it's interesting because, of course, the Christian walk is we have to find a place where we can humble ourselves before God. And that is one of the bits of resistance a lot of non-Christians have about becoming Christians. They think, you know, I don't need it. I'm strong enough. I can cope with. But the point is, when you've humbled yourself before God, then you find the power of God. And then you find that he will give you things to do. And he'll say, come on, get out the boat, take that risk. Just like what you're doing with social distancing life. Get out the boat, take the risk. It's going to be hard work. You're going to get tired. But boy, will I bless you. And that's what Get Out the Boat is about.
Great. Well, let's watch that now. So this is Get Out the Boat by Out of the Act.
With your eyes on me, I won't let you down.
Penny, absolutely fantastic video, and looked like a lot of fun to make as well, and the animation in it and everything else. I mean, I'm always fascinated by artists and the videos and the process and things like that. Recently I made a video, social distancing viewers got involved, and we made a video for a song called Show Us Your Glory, where people in lockdown filmed themselves
Nice.
sort of miming along and things like that. And so what was the process for this video, and how much involvement do you have in the creative process with the video, or do you just hand it over to a video company, or how does it all work for you?
No, we get quite involved. We Right, okay. So we had this song, "Get Out the Boat," and it had dictated the album cover. And I'm going to hold the album cover up here for you. There you go. So that was the image we had on the front of the album, and it was a fascinating thing to do, actually, because I sketched it up for Lolita Gill to design, and I think you know Lolita.
Yeah, she'll be on.
Gill.
She's coming on Social Distancing Live herself as well. So
I'm sure she will, but she's amazing. But she's an amazing graphic designer. So she's been doing our graphic design for probably the last 3 years, 2 years, something like that. And when I sketched it up, what I wanted to do, it was really fascinating to realise that if you actually look at the album cover, you've got Kevin in his Victorian gentleman swimming outfit. You've got one of the backing singers in her dress, another one looking like a Bond girl, another one wearing absolutely every safety bit of equipment she could find. So there was a safety hat, she had a life jacket, and she had armbands and goodness knows what. My son was wearing a surfing, we was wearing trunks and had a surfboard. Our saxophonist had his diving gear on because he's a scuba diver, and I had a sort of an all-in-one, slightly a long-legged swimming costume thing, and I was wearing a unicorn inflatable. And then our drummer was right at the top of the mast, looking panicky because he just wanted to be as far away from the water as possible. But what was fascinating is, as I drew all these things, I realised that they actually reflected the strategies we have for avoiding getting close to Jesus Christ. So you get, and you know, we have this in church. We have those that just look beautiful and they put makeup on, but they stay behind their wall. And then you have those that look awfully spiritual and look awfully cool, but actually, are they really getting involved? And that's what Kevin kind of reflected. And then the ones that are just terrified are at the top of the mast. And I hide behind comedy and, you know, and talking a lot. And we all have our strategies for avoiding letting Christ really come in. And so it was really interesting to produce that. But then when the Get Out the Boat video was wanted, it just seemed obvious that we had to try and find a way of animating the front cover of the album. The front cover of the album came first. And so we're sort of wondering if we can find a way of doing this at home. And like all musicians, we do everything on the cheap. And I'm sure I don't have to talk to you about that. Everything is done on the cheap because somehow we've got to raise the money to do it. And so Kevin, my husband, lead guitarist in the band, co-writer, was thinking, okay, why don't we put a green screen up, buy an enormous green screen, put it up somewhere, and then we can see what we can do in front of it. We were trying to think of a way of doing this ourselves. And then we discovered that in Stroud, just along the road, there was a green screen studio. Wow. So Kevin found out about it, and then we went talked to them, and they weren't very expensive to allow you to use their green screen studio for a day, and that was going to be easier than using a big piece of fabric, and they would have the lighting in place and goodness knows what. So we went and talked to these guys, and the boss, a chap called Andrew Loveridge, and I just made assumptions about this was just another secular studio. And he started asking about it. He said, well, you know, what do you do? And I said, well, we're a Christian band. And but I think I talked about what our mission is, our ministry is very much about. And finally I came out with we're a Christian band. And he just went, right, I get it. And it turned out he was a Christian.
Oh, wow.
And it turned out he totally got what we were trying to do. And he was amazing, absolutely amazing. There was a team of them that worked on it. It wasn't just Andrew, but it was his company. A team of them worked on it, and they're now currently producing our next video.
Wow.
And they do it far cheaper than they should. And they're incredibly kind to us. And we kind of fit in around the work time schedule because they do a lot of commercial stuff. But just amazing.
The quality's fantastic. It's had nearly 50,000 views as well on YouTube as well, I've seen. So
That's it. I've not noticed that.
Yeah, that's incredible, isn't it? Fantastic. And so, I mean, with there seems to be a real sense of fun with the video, which I loved, in the animation, and that comes across through the events that you put on as well, doesn't it? The real sense of fun and the joy as well as the serious side of things.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing is, Christian life is not actually necessarily about matins, and it is about how loved we are. And Jesus clearly had a sense of fun. He clearly loved parties as much as anybody else. He was the one that made more wine. I'd just like to point that out in case anybody's forgotten that. He made extra wine for a wedding. And if you actually see a church getting together and eating, there will always be so much laughter, so much fun, so much kindness. And I think it just reflects that.
Brilliant. We've talked a lot about that theme that you just mentioned there, love, and how much Jesus loves us. And the next song has got that in its title, What Love Can Do. Can you tell us a bit about that song, and then we'll have a look at it?
Okay. There's a bit of a story behind there are a lot of stories behind these songs. I think the first thing that inspired the song was the realization that when Jesus performed a miracle, he was not doing a trick. He was not doing a card trick. It was an expression of how much he loved people. We see in the Bible again and again, in the New Testament, it's saying he was moved with compassion. Jesus just kept being filled up with compassion for the people he saw before him. And I think those miracles were an expression of his love, rather than, look how powerful I am. But there's a particular story, and I have a prop here. Now, we give these away at gigs, and in worldly terms, it is probably about the most unexciting giveaway you could give anybody. It's a little box, and in it is a little bag of which looks dangerously like drugs, but I promise it's not. It's wood ash. It's a little bit of wood ash in a bag. We have great fun putting these together, and we give them away because there's a story that goes with them. There is a little boy in ancient Israel who lives in, for heaven's sake, no, I'm going to have to edit this. He's just off the Lake of Galilee. It's Bethsaida, Galilee.
Okay. So if you start with, there is a little boy, yeah. Thus you're in.
Okay. There is a little boy who lives in Bethsaida in Galilee, just off the shores of Galilee. And he has been hearing, as everybody's been hearing, about this man that's been going round talking to people, drawing great crowds, huge crowds follow him. And he's been doing miracles. And the Pharisees and the Sadducees hate him, but everybody else is talking about who he might be. Could it be John the Baptist resurrected? Or could it be the Messiah that's been promised? And they're all discussing it. But this little boy, the thing that's most excited him most is that this man has time for children. Nobody in ancient Israel had time for children. So when he hears that this man is down on the shores of Galilee, he says to his mum, Mum, can I please go? I want to go in here and talk. Please, can I go? He said, okay, 3 things. 1, I want to know you're going to behave. I don't want you pushing yourself out there. I don't want you causing trouble. I don't want any complaints about you. 2, I want to know you're going to be back on time. And 3, instantly, on time means before sunset. And 3, I want all your chores done before you go. Done properly, mark you. We've all talked to our children like this. So he goes around super quick. He gets all his chores done, everything done really well. Doesn't want to have to do anything again. And comes back and goes, Mum, 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 I've finished. Please, 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 can I go? She said, okay. Back before sunset. Behave yourself. I've made you a packed lunch. Rob, what was in the packed lunch?
Fish and bread.
Well done, Rob. So off he goes. He's got some loaves and some fishes, and he arrives down, and there are thousands of people there. We read in the Bible that there were 5,000, but I'd just like to point out that children and women weren't counted. There were 5,000 men there. There were so many more when you include the women and children. And they're all crowding round, trying to listen to what Jesus is saying. And this little boy is just totally carried away. He just looks into those eyes and sees unbelievable kindness. And he hears words of incredible wisdom. And he gets to a point where he realizes that the day is ticking on. Sun's getting low and he's going to have to go home. He's really sad. He's not eaten his food. He's not done anything. He's just listened and soaked up the atmosphere. And he just starts to cast around him to pick his stuff up and go home, because otherwise his mum will never let him do anything like this again. And then Jesus said, we've got to feed these people. Has anybody got some food? And the disciples go out into the crowd. Now you can imagine it, can't you? Because we've all seen kids, and we remember what it was like to be a kid at school. And you get excited, and you put your hand up, and you go, yeah, I've got some. And then he realises he's the only one in all those thousands of people that's put his hand up. And he goes pink, and his hand comes down, and he wishes he could hide, because people are laughing at him. He's only a kid, for heaven's sake, what good can he do? He's got a little bit of bread and fish. That's going to be a fat load of use, isn't it? Now, I just want you to think about how many of us have those words spoken over our lives. She's too old. She's too young. He's too stupid. He's too clever. He's too black. He's too white. We're all too something. It's spoken into our lives again and again and again. But Jesus took what that little boy had, because the little boy had the courage to take everything he had and just open-handed hand it over to Christ. And of course, with that, one of the greatest miracles in the Bible was done. Now, the point of these little boxes is they're full of ash. They're full of the stuff that we feel our lives are made out of. We feel that our lives are full of ash, stuff that God's not going to want, not going to use. But God is saying to each one of us, give me everything you are. First, I will heal you. Second, I will use you and I will empower you. And then starts one of the greatest adventures that we will ever have lived, which I can attest to.
Brilliant, Penny. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. What an amazing story. And we're now going to listen to What Love Can Do by Out of the Ashes.
In a world that turns so very fast, relationships aren't built to last. When you find in life too hard, well, look what love can do. When Jesus came to change the world, he died for our immortal soul, paid for us and made us whole. Well, that's what love can do. Well, love can turn water into wine. Love can heal the lame and cure the blind. Yeah, love can make those troubled waters still. Love can feed 5,000 people gathered on a hill. Those miracles that Jesus did weren't done to show us magic tricks. He said, follow me and live like this, and I'll show you what love can do. what is right, then read your Bible day and night. The words are there in black and white. Just look what love can do. Love can turn water into wine. Love can heal the lame and cure the blind. Yeah, love can ease your troubled soul from pain. Love can turn a foe into a friend. Yeah, love can move a mountain. Love can bridge the ocean. Love pulls back that curtain. Alarming what love, disarming what love can do. 2, 3, 4. Exciting what love, inspiring what love can do. 6, 7, 8. Crazy what love, amazing what love can do.
Brilliant. That was What Love Can Do by Out of the Ashes. This is a Social Distancing Live special with Penny from Out of the Ashes. Penny, fantastic song, fantastic video. And I gather there's a bit of a tradition on Social Distancing Live with our artists who come on with funny, embarrassing stories regarding artwork and videos they've made to do with their songs. And you've got quite an embarrassing story to do with the making of the video that we've just seen.
My husband will tell you that I'm great at talking, not always so good at listening. And if you look at the beginning of the video, we borrowed an army Jeep called Lydia. And we started the Jeep just round the corner from where we were shooting the video. All the band piled onto it and came round the corner, screeched to a halt. And then the idea was that we would go pouring into the clubs, Joe's Bar in Cheltenham, to actually get on with performing the song and shooting the video and so on. But as we came off the first time, what the cameraman actually said is, right, okay, I just want to do that again. So we're going to reverse up and just get your tour get back on and we just want to shoot it again. I didn't listen to that bit. So what happened is I came off the Jeep and went running in, which was the ultimate plan. And as I got to, just ran full pelt into the club. What I didn't realise was that the door was shut. Security glass door was very, very firmly shut. I smacked into it going full pelt. To the degree that people were saying, we've got to get you to hospital. We've got to get you to hospital. And the door broke. I feel so proud that I broke the security glass with my head. And the following one, I didn't even have a bruise.
Wow.
So yeah, just in case you're planning on picking a fight with me at a gig, I've got a seriously hard head. So yeah.
Amazing. And I mean, did it affect the video shooting? Because obviously you've got to film the video after that as well.
No, it was fine. It was absolutely fine. I really was totally scarless. We did have to go and apologise and pay for the door, but we had to go forward and say, I'm afraid it's us that cracked your door. And Kevin had said, I'm afraid it's my wife that cracked your door.
Absolutely.
So an invoice was duly sent for replacement glass.
So the video turned out to be more expensive than you envisaged.
Yes, slightly, but hey.
Incredible. Well, I mean, tell us a bit more about what, obviously we've touched upon it, introducing the interview tonight. Hang on, I'll do that again. So tell us a bit more about what people can expect out of the Ashes gigs. I mean, obviously at the moment, like myself,
not a lot.
We haven't got any gigs, have we? But what does an Out of the Ashes gig normally look like? What can people expect?
Out of the Ashes gigs actually are quite variable. We have a 10-piece band, but we don't always perform with the 10-piece band. So we can be anything from Kevin and me. There'll always be at least two of us, and going to churches on perhaps Sunday morning. Sometimes we just do the sermon slot, 3 songs, 3 stories in the sermon slot. Or sometimes church leaders will say, actually, no, I just want you to do a concert on Sunday morning. So we will go in and we will do songs and stories, tell the stories behind the songs. And there's a lot of encouragement in those stories, which hopefully you've heard from some of the stories already told. God really uses us to get beside people and talk to them about the things that they won't talk about, which is interesting. Because if you go to any church or to any group of people, any gathering of people, there will be shed loads of pain among those people. Pain that they're just carrying and holding and being hurt by. And God wants to heal all that pain. So he uses our songs, us, just to talk to people, for him to minister to them. So we might go in as a duo, we might go in as sort of a 5-piece, if that's a possibility, or we might go and do a full 10-piece. So we're playing at festivals, we play sometimes at secular festivals, and it becomes kind of apparent that we're a Christian band, but it's safe for non-Christians to go to who are worried about going to a Christian event. And because it's jazz and blues and rhythm and blues with gospel roots, there's a lot of fun to be had there in the music. Slightly unusual music for Christian artists to be producing in terms of the field. And that's partly, can I be candid here, because we're older than most musicians who are out there. You don't get to, Kevin is 65. You don't get to our age without having experienced a lot of music. And, you know, I remember Diana Ross when Diana Ross was a young artist. I remember the Supremes. I remember Billy Ocean. I remember so many great artists from back at the end of the 60s when I started having a vague interest in music into the 70s. I lost interest a little bit in the 80s and 90s. I'm sorry about that. Although there were some great musicians out there. But we've just got a long history of music, and that's bound to inspire what we do, which makes it very varied and makes it have quite a lot of a sense of retro to it.
Yeah, and speaking of variety, we've heard 2 very upbeat songs, and when the last song you've chosen for us for this evening is a bit more of a contemplative, slower song, isn't it? Closer to You. Please tell us about the song, and let's have a listen to it.
Okay. The story behind the song, in many ways, this set the tone for where our ministry started. I got to 50. Well, okay, now let's just go back a step. Do you remember that when you were a kid, old was a completely other species? I remember that when I was 15, and I remember somebody saying to me, "You're going to be old one day too," and I used to think, "Yeah, sure." Because old was a completely different species. They were alien. And you get to a point when you're 20, and 20 is cool. 25, really cool. 30, you might even have your own house, but you're still young. Although people are starting to talk about big 3-0, you're on your way. And I remember getting to the big 4-0, and that was middle age, apparently. We know that middle age is 70 now. Sorry, there's no fooling us. And then I got to the big 5-0, and actually the big 5-0, my feet didn't hurt when I got up in the morning. I still felt fit and strong. I could still run. I could still do all the things I wanted to do. But there was this number there. What really hit me was when I remember 54, standing in front of the bathroom mirror, and there were lines appearing, and there were grey hairs appearing. And I suddenly just thought, oh, here we go. And I panicked. And my mother's dead now, but at the time she wanted to die. She wasn't a Christian. She hated the world. She bore a load of resentment she carried. And I didn't want to be the old lady that my mum had become. I really didn't want to go there. I wanted to continue to live a life of joy and the presence of God and the fullness of God. And but was that possible? And if I'm candid, a lot of churches, older people still get sidelined. There is a church in America that said, anybody over 60, can we politely ask you to leave, please? Which is absolutely shocking. Wow. Because there's so much richness in our older audience. But there I was, panicking, back to the story, panicking in front of the bathroom mirror. And I just felt God over my shoulder. And he said, do you know what? I love your silver hairs. They're a crown of glory. I love the lines on your face. They're the lines of experience. And he said, the older you are getting, the more you're listening to me, the more you're spending time with me, and the more I can use you. And I found that breathtaking. And so we wrote this song called Closer to You, and it's all about that journey of getting closer and closer and closer to God until at last he receives us into his arms with joy.
Great. Well, this is Closer to You by Out of the Ashes.
Why should I worry about lines on my face? Why should I worry about turning to grey? Why should I worry about the passing of days when each one brings me closer to you? Why should I worry about the aches and the pains, the slowing of life, the quickening of days? Why should I worry if my memory fades when each day I'm getting closer to you, and I'm closer to you? Should
Brilliant. That was Closer to You by Out of the Ashes. My special guest this evening is Penny from Out of the Ashes on Social Distancing Live. Penny, it's been a real joy and really fascinating you in the stories and your heart, and just pray protection and good health for you and your family during this time. Will you come back on the programme and can we hear some more of your fantastic music?
Would absolutely love to. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Hello to all you people out there. Be blessed, be safe, and yeah.
And how can people obviously, you know, we haven't got any gigs anymore, but how can they get your music and support you and help to keep you making the music that you make and things like that?
Thank you. Yeah, we have a website which is www.outoftheashesmusic.uk. Don't be tempted to put a .co.uk in there. It is literally www.outoftheashesmusic.uk. We also have a YouTube channel, which you can go to through our Out of the Ashes page. And we have a Facebook page. Please follow us on Facebook, Out of the Ashes Music. And we're on Twitter and all those things that I never know what to do with. You can also book us through Ministry of Music and the amazing work they do getting music and artists out there into the church world.
So Penny, thanks so much for being on once again. And can you tell me what have you got coming up? What are you working on at the moment?
Well, it's time we started writing album number 5, and ideas are starting to filter out. The way we tend to work is that I tend to write the lyrics, and Kevin comes up with those riffs, those hooky riffs, and then we start melding it all together. Occasionally I will have a tune in my head and poor Kevin has got to get some sense out of that tune. But we're just at that stage where ideas are starting to come out and we actually need to sit down and start concreting. But the other thing is that we have amazing power of God. We bought this house. We wanted to build a studio in the garden so people like you can come and record again. And we thought it was going to be a serious battle getting planning consent. And we just got everybody to pray about it that we could. And planning consent just sailed through. And our builder just said, how did that happen? And I just said, that is the power of God done. so that's what, so the studio's got to be built. We've got to write some songs. Then we can start producing album number 5.
Wonderful. That was Penny there from Out of the Ashes. Hope you all enjoyed that. There was a lot of love for the music there and some lovely comments that I'll pass on to Penny if she's not watching live right now. And hopefully we'll have her back on. That was recorded back in the day when we couldn't do live interviews, but now of course we can. We've got the capabilities to do live interviews, and tomorrow evening we've got a very special interview with Simon Reyes from Premier Christian Radio. He's content editor there. He used to have his own show on UCB, radio DJ, Christian radio DJ, and is such a lovely bloke. And for those of you who saw the social media post of me on Premier Christian Radio last Friday or the Friday before last, Simon was the interviewer, and he's got some incredibly funny stories and poignant stories as well. And it'll be quite interesting to have an insight as to what is happening behind the scenes at one of the UK's major Christian radio stations at this time. I know there's been a lot of challenges, like for so many businesses and so many people during lockdown, obviously the way they operate and things like that. So Simon is on tonight. Simon Reyes from Premier Christian Radio on Social Distancing Live. He's our special guest. We'll be having some live worship. I'll be sharing some more details about Sunday's gig, which is in aid of Operation Gateway Relief as well. And I'll also be revealing some special guests we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks. So on next Tuesday, we've got Beam Baker, and on the 11th, we've got Kath Woolridge. You might have seen her in the UK Blessing video. A good friend of mine, Di Woolridge, of course, her husband was on last week as well, sharing some of his amazing poetry. Happy birthday to Di Woolridge today, by the way. It's his birthday today, so if you're tuning in later, happy birthday. So great. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that, and please let me know if there's anybody you'd like me to try and get on the programme. Please private message me, and by all means we can try, can't we, and try and get them on. Tomorrow night join me for some live worship Hopefully I'll have a new song that I'm writing ready for you. And also a fantastic interview with Simon as well. Don't forget, there's no Social Distancing Live on Friday because it's bank holiday, but we do have a special gig on Sunday, a free gig. Please tell your friends and family about it. Please tune in. We're trying to raise as much money as we can for Operation Gateway Relief. Thank you very much. And my mum is giving us the power, the right elbow of fellowship, I think we've called it, haven't we? So there we are. Awesome. Martin Smith. That would be a good one, John. Martin Smith. I'll have a go. If anybody's got his phone number, please pass it my way. I think I would be a bit of a fanboy if I got Martin Smith on. He's a little bit of a hero of mine. Really look up to him as a songwriter and worship leader. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to leave you with a song. It's a song video. It's a song that reached number 13 in the UK Christian charts. Thanks to you. Thanks for voting for it. And thanks for all those who were involved in the video as well. And thanks for everybody who shared it. It's a prayer and a cry that anyone can sing and join in with to say, God, we turn to you. Come and save and lead our land once again, especially at this time. This is Show Us Your Glory. I'll see you tomorrow night, 8:30. Stay safe. Be kind. I pray protection, health and provision over you and your families. Take care and night God bless. From me, Rob Westall, Gavin Owen, chief videographer who's integral in tonight's programme, and my wife Anna, thank you, and night God bless.
We're on our knees, crying out to you. Show us your glory. Show us your glory. Let your kingdom come. We're on our knees, we turn to you, we lay our lives down, we're laying our lives down, let your will be done, you come and save our lives. Your ways are higher, nothing is higher. Glorify your Son. Let your kingdom come, let your will be done as we bow before you. we're on our knees, crying out to you. Show us your glory, show us your glory, let your kingdom come.